Welcome to the Feria Techcast. We'll bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today we are joined by Dr. Rhonda Lawson, a retired U.S. Army Master Sergeant turned award-winning author and literary strategist who is engineering a new future for storytelling. With over 30 years of experience, she has written and contributed to over 24 books and has helped nearly 1,000 authors transform powerful stories into published works that build platforms and generate income. From serving as a soldier journalist to founding the Black History Month Literary Weekend, Rhonda's journey is a masterclass in applying military discipline, clarity, purpose, and grit to the creative purpose. She is on the front line of one of the most pressing debates in creative tech: how to ethically leverage AI as a tool for writers without losing the human voice that makes stories matter. So, Dr. Rhonda, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, Dr. Rhonda. So let's start at the beginning. Your background is truly unique. I mean, you are a retired U.S. Army Master Sergeant, an award-winning author with over 24 books, and now a literary strategist. Can you walk us through that journey? I'd like to know what thread connects these journey for you.
Okay, well, first of all, I've always been a writer. I've been writing since I was 12 years old. So it was kind of a natural progression for me. Even
Mm,
when I was in the US Army, I was a Army journalist, which means that I was working for the base newspaper. I ran a radio station during my latter years in the Army. So we took writing very seriously, and my time in the military is actually what helped me to become a better writer. I decided I wanted to write fiction about the mid part of my career, because I've always loved reading fiction, so I wanted to write what I enjoyed. In 2004 is when I published my very first novel. It was called Cheating in the Next Room, and it was about how an affair affected more than just the two people who were in it. Then I went on to write more novels, and then I started to contribute to a number of anthologies. So I was kind of averaging a published work every year. I wasn't writing my own novel every year, but if on an off year, I was still contributing to anthologies. I was still writing short stories. And so when I retired from the Army in 2017, I started my own company called Meet the World Image Solutions. I actually came back home from the Army in December 2016, and I launched my company in January of 2017. So I didn't really let a lot of grass grow under my feet. And the, company, Meet the World Image Solutions, was actually supposed to be a, publicity company. I wanted to be an image consultant, but my heart was always with writing. So when I realized I don't really like being a publicist, I really want to, work more in the literary industry. So I pivoted my company to where I was, supporting more authors with editing, ghostwriting, and things like that. And because I had a teaching background, I also did workshops where I was teaching people how to become better writers. So now my company has two arms. There's literary services as well as publicity services. So I still offer services and press releases, media kits, one sheets, and I also have my podcast that I do every Monday night called the Horizons Author Lounge. But I also have that literary side where I am supporting authors through editing, ghostwriting, as I mentioned. I teach workshops. I even do coaching. So the way the literary strategist part comes in is that since I have so many authors who come to me for help with publicity, I want to help them to develop a strategy. And developing a strategy for your book goes beyond just posting your book on Facebook and hoping somebody sees it, or sliding into somebody's DMs and not even saying hello, just sending them the promo to your book. Like, that's really going to make me want to read it. So we come up with an actual strategy to get your book in front of the correct readers, and at the same time using it to build a platform for yourself so you can become an expert in your industry.
Wow, that's quite a fascinating journey, Dr. Rhonda. So you've written somewhere that you don't believe in fluff and focus on clarity, discipline, and purpose. So I'd like to ask, how did your 23-year military career shape your approach to the creative process of writing and coaching authors?
Well, being in the army, I was always coaching. That's a big part of being in the military, is being a leader. So I was
Mm,
always, and because I was a public affairs officer, I was always helping my soldiers, my airmen, whoever it was that was working for me at the time. I was always teaching them how to write, how to be better at their craft. And I would always tell them, do not have a just get it done attitude. Always put your best foot forward. When you put your best foot forward, you actually put care into your work. You're not doing it just to get it done anymore. You're doing it because there's somebody out there that you're informing. There's somebody out there who this story is going to be important to. And so it's up to us as communicators to make sure that we're writing effectively, we're writing clearly, and that we always give the reader a what we call a WIFM, which is a word we made up, and it stands for what's in it for me. Somebody's going to read your story because
mm.
they want to know what's in it for them. So when we write that story and we give them what's in it for them and we make them care, they're going to find value in what we're writing. And that's the way we should always approach anything that we're doing.
Interesting. So, Dr. Rhonda, I like to talk about AI for a while. So, there's a lot of fear and excitement around it in the creative fields. So, how are you seeing serious authors use AI tools ethically to enhance their writing process without losing their unique voice?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. You cannot lose your unique voice. And when you allow AI to do your work for you, then you do lose your authentic voice. That's the first part. The second part is your skills are going to degrade because you're letting AI do all the work for you. However, when you use AI as an assistant and not a replacement, it actually enhances your writing process. It actually enhances your thinking process. For instance, I'm writing a new book. It's going to be a holiday novel, and it's called Surprise Swipe Right. I went to
Mm,
ChatGPT and I typed in my idea. I said, "This is what I want to write about." And these are the characters I want to have. This is what I want to happen. And then I let it give me some ideas. And I said, okay, well, that's fine, but this is the way I want my plot to be. And I kind of had a conversation. And what it was doing is it was helping me to plan my story. I was able to develop my characters. I was able to better develop my plot, and I was even able to outline my chapters. Does that mean that I'm going to do exactly what ChatGPT tells me to do? No, I'm not. In fact, if you look at the planning stage not, that I had when I started that versus the way the story is shaping up now, you'll see some similarities, but you'll see a lot of differences. I was using it as a writing assistant to help me to plan my story. And because I did that, it helped the writing process go a lot faster. And where I thought that the book would only be about 100 pages, I am up to about 140 pages now because I was able to use that thought process as I was moving along. And so that is the way you do it. I mean, I've even said, okay, chat. write a couple of paragraphs for me. I want to see what you're thinking about this. And it'll write a couple of paragraphs and I'll look at it and I'll say, hmm, I hate that. So I'm not going to write that. So, but what it did was it got me into a thought process. So I'm not dealing with writer's block. And my last book, I was dealing with writer's block. I was like, I have no idea what to write next. Where am I going with this? What should she say? What should he do? But because I'm using chat as an assistant now, it's helping me through that writer's block. It's giving me ideas, and I take those ideas and I build on them, and I use my own thoughts and I use my own creativity to write the story. But I'm using chat as my assistant just to break through those walls when I hit a wall.
So, looking at the current landscape, what's one way AI is changing the game for book marketing and publicity that most people don't see coming?
Well, the first thing is AI should be helping you to identify your target audience. There have been so many
Mm,
authors when I'll say, "Who is your book for? Who should be reading your book?" And they say, "Oh, my book is for everybody," but your book is not for everybody. There is a specific target audience that you should be talking to in your book. When you try to talk to everybody, or when you try to reach everybody, you're not reaching anybody. So when you start to identify who your target audience is, you write to them, now you're reaching the right people. You know who to market to. So what you can do with Chat GPT, Claude, Perplexity, whatever it is that you use. I primarily use Chat GPT, but I'm moving over to Claude for more complex research. Excuse me, not Claude, but Perplexity. I'm moving over to Perplexity for more complex research. But I created an avatar of my target audience. I said, I want to reach African American women between the ages of 35 and 65. Um, the reason why I chose that target age group is because, one, not everybody, but many people who are younger than 35 are probably not on the platforms the same way I'm on the platforms. They probably don't have the disposable income that an older person will. So I want to be able to reach that person. I know that as an African American woman, my stories speak to people with my experience. So I wanted to reach African American women. I want to reach women who are business owners or who are executives, because a large part of my business is reaching business owners who don't have a book. And I want to reach them so I can encourage them to write their stories, because I believe that every business owner should have a book. So my target audience is going to be business owners. So what I did was I gave Chat everything that I could think of about my target audience, and Chat went ahead and took that and ran with it and helped me to develop my avatar. So whenever I'm planning social media content, whenever I'm planning marketing, I always say, I want Monique. My avatar's name is Monique. I want to keep
mm,
Monique in mind. And so that helps me to better target when I start to market. And another thing that ChatGPT can do is it can help you to find speaking engagements. A lot of people don't realize now that you can turn agent mode onto ChatGPT, and it can do certain tasks for you. I now have my chat sending me my most important emails every morning. What are the emails that I need to focus on? I told it I wanted to look for business opportunities, partnership opportunities, um, client client outreach. I told it what I wanted, and I was able to take um, agent mode and have it comb through my email and make sure that I was getting those emails, so that way I didn't miss anything. Um, Speaking engagements. I turned on agent mode again, and I asked it to look for speaking engagements for me. So I'm able to do that. And then the other thing is, you can train ChatGPT to give you outputs in your voice. You don't have to accept the robotic outputs that it gives. You can have a conversation with it, going back and forth. Tell it what you don't want, tell it what you do want. For instance, hallucinations. You can tell chat, do not hallucinate. If you don't know the answer, just tell me you don't know the answer, but don't make it up. And that way you get better quality outputs when it starts to give you responses. So you Chat GPT has really stepped up its game. There's a lot that it can do. There's still a lot that I'm still learning. But the more you learn it and the more it learns you, the better outputs you're going to get and the better quality work you're going to have. But it all still comes down to will never replace the human touch. So even if you're using it for social media content, if you're using it for research, if you're using it to help you to write your book, make sure that you are still editing it, that you're still doing your own research, that you're still reading it over, you're still putting it into your voice. And when you do that, even if you're using Chat GPT for help, these are your thoughts, this is your work, and you never have to worry about plagiarism.
Wow, wow, wow. That was loaded with insights. I mean, uh, I believe from what you just said, both writers and non-writers alike will get some value from it because, yeah, I mean, those were like really, really great insights on how to better utilize ChatGPT for our everyday tasks. And I must really commend that, Dr. Ronda. So, moving on, I'd like to ask for the engineers and technical professionals in our audience who might want to write a book to build their authority. So, what's the biggest mistake you normally see people make when they start writing?
Well, sometimes when we are very close to a subject, we think that everybody knows, and everybody may not know. And so when I say that, what I mean is we don't fully explain certain concepts because we think that it's basic and everybody knows. Or we
Mm,
turn a blind eye to it because it's something that we experience every day. So you have to remember that even if you are a tech professional and even if your audience is tech, there are probably going to be some concepts that you're going to have to break down because everybody doesn't have the same level of knowledge. So I would say do research, break it down to that least common denominator, even if you take a few paragraphs just to explain certain concepts. I've heard people say, I went to this class and they taught me everything I already knew. And I went to that same class, and yes, I might have known it, but because I've been in it for so long, it was a good reminder. And it helped me to practice some of my basic skills, which made my more advanced skills better. So there's nothing wrong with breaking things down sometimes to the basic common denominator, just to make sure that everybody's on the same playing field. So to answer your question, even if no matter what type of book you're writing, make sure that you explain because that reader is not going to be able to stand behind you and ask you questions. And you're not going to be able to stand behind that reader and say, this is what I meant by that. Or what I actually meant to say is so and so. That person's going to be reading their book in their own little home office, curled up in bed, on the bus on the way to work, and they're not going to be able to contact you to ask you what you meant by that. So always make sure that you're clear. Do not use a lot of jargon. I think a lot of times we do that. When I was in the army, we all had jargon. And the funny thing is, depending on what branch of the army you were in, let's say if you were a pilot, your jargon was totally different from a tanker. A tanker's jargon was totally different from an HR professional. And so sometimes, even though they were all in the army wearing the same uniform, they didn't all speak the same language. So we as public affairs officers would always say, okay, well, what does that mean? If you say FIS, what does that mean? What does that stand for? If you say TOC, what does that stand for? And we always had to break it down. So that's another thing I think that um, any professional, not just tech professionals, but any professional, they are going to use a lot of jargon, just thinking that everybody's going to understand it, and everybody may not. understand it.
That was a really great response there. What's the difference, in your view, between great writing and great storytelling? And why does that distinction matter for someone looking to build a platform?
Wow, great question. So great writing and great storytelling, they do go hand in hand. You need to have a balance of both. But sometimes people can tell a really good story, but they don't have the writing technique. They might have a really interesting, compelling story, but their grammatical skills are not always strong, or their description skills may not be strong. Or maybe they're just terrible spellers. I've seen people who have sent me work and they were telling a pretty interesting story, but I was so busy fixing grammatical mistakes and spelling mistakes that I could not enjoy the story the way I would have liked to. So I think, like I said, you got to have that balance. If you're going to tell a good story, that story will be an even greater story if you take time to fix your mechanics. So that's the difference between a great writer and a great storyteller. Now, there are some people who are great writers, as in the grammaticals are great, the spelling is great, sentence structure is great, but maybe their story isn't as strong because they've put so much time into spelling everything correctly and the grammar is good, but they forgot to tell the story and make the writer interested or the reader interested. Remember what I said a little bit earlier. Always try to answer the with them. You want somebody to read your story because you want them to find what's in it for them. And I'm not going to read your story if I can't find what's in it for me. So you've got to be able to tell that story in a way to make people care. No matter how well written it is, if you're not giving me the story in a way that's going to make me care about that story or make me root for that story, I'm probably going to stop reading.
Great. So, for someone feeling overwhelmed by the idea of writing a book, what's the first small discipline step you'd normally tell them to take?
I usually tell people to just free write. Don't worry about publication. Don't worry about how it looks. What you want to do is just get all of those thoughts out of your head and put them onto paper or onto your laptop. So just write everything. And then once you've gotten it all out of your head, then we can go back and start to format things, put things in order. We can maybe expand on a few things where we need to expand. But the first thing is just get it out of your head. And then the next thing is think about who you're writing to. Remember what I said, you've got to think about that target audience. Who is going to benefit most from reading your story, whether it's fiction or nonfiction? Who's going to benefit most from reading your book? And that's who you target. And that's who you write to. That's who you keep in mind when you're writing. And if you do that, that's actually going to help you to get even more out. Like I said, but the story that I'm writing, it's a fiction story, but, it's a really fun story, but I can't concentrate on the laughs without telling the story. Or I can't tell the story and then call it a comedy and forget to put a few jokes in there. And at the same time, I have to make it authentic because my story takes place in New Orleans, which is where I'm from. If I don't have little aspects of New Orleans in every part of that story, I'm gonna be thought of as a fraud. So I need to make sure that I've done the research, and research is not just academic research. Research could be, let me study up on this city so I can make sure that my story is authentic. Or let me study up. I'm writing about a 70-year-old woman. I'm not 70. I'm going to have to do a little research on women in between the ages of 70 and 80 years old so I can make sure that the mannerisms are correct or that their way of speaking is correct. All of that has to come into play when you're writing your story.
Wonderful, wonderful, Dr. Rhonda. I'd like to ask you a personal question. So, what has been the most rewarding part of helping nearly 1,000 authors bring their stories into the world for you?
I've got to say, it is such an honor to me when I I do speaking engagements, and I see somebody who I've run across before, whether they were in one of my plays, or whether they read one of my books, or whether it was an author who took all of the things that I gave them and they actually put them into work. And then they come to me and they say, "Thank you. You taught me this," or "You you inspired me to do that." And when they come back and give me that type of feedback, that is what tells me that what I'm doing is worth it. And it keeps me going. So I just really appreciate. I'm not saying that everybody has to come to me and clap and genuflect and all of that, but every once in a while it's nice to get a reminder from somebody um that what you're doing is worth it and that people are actually listening.
Amazing, amazing. So, part of the theme of this podcast is centered around innovation, Dr. Rhonda. And for that reason, there's kind of like a common question that I like to ask every guest that I interview
Mhm.
here on the show, irrespective of their background. So, I like to ask, what does innovation mean to you, and how does it relate to your life, your field, your work, your philosophy in the context of writing and authorship?
Um, Innovation. Um, I think innovation. I remember when I first started writing. Ebooks were a weird concept. I remember saying, "How in the world do you do a book signing with an ebook? This is crazy. What are they supposed to sign? I mean, we need real books so we can sign the books." And it didn't even hit me that you can diversify. I was just thinking that books were supposed to be going away and it was just going to be ebooks. And then I remember when audiobooks came along and people are still saying it actually. It's like, why would I want to listen to an audiobook? That's going to put me to sleep. I love audiobooks. I love being able to throw in an audiobook. It helps me to rest. When I'm driving, especially I live in the DC area and everything is an hour away. So I like to listen to audiobooks as I'm driving to work or when I'm driving to visit someone or if I'm going to a speaking engagement. I'd rather listen to an audiobook than to um than to listen to music. So times change. I remember digital cameras. We were taking when I first joined the army, we were taking pictures with film cameras. And when they said that we were going to be switching to digital cameras, a lot of us didn't want to do it. We were purists. We was like, I don't want to use digital cameras. The quality is not going to be as good. And now look at us. We hardly ever use film. So now we are at AI, and there are people who are fighting against AI. And, I know that there are people who don't understand it. Understand that there are fears about it, but the more you learn about it, the better you get at using it, and it's actually going to help your process and not hurt it. It's going to help your workflow and reduce work hours. The other night, I worked on 3 proposals. I emailed 2 proposals off, and the next morning I presented the 3rd proposal. I was able to do that all in one night. Just a few months ago, that would have been unheard of for me to work on 3 client proposals in one night, and I was able to get this done, in a matter of about an hour or so. That that is that has really reduced my workflow. I have a proposal that made me $7,500 that I used that I put together probably in about an hour because of the help of ChatGPT and Beautiful AI. So, I think that's the innovation thing, working smarter and not harder, not trying to be a martyr to say, I'm never going to use AI and none of my work will ever be used with AI or done with AI. And now you're working 20, 25, 30 hours on something that I finished like 18 hours ago.
Wow,
So
wow, wow.
we've got
That's
we've got to be able to embrace technology.
yes, yes. Interesting. Finally, Dr. Rhonda, our listeners who want to learn more about your work or connect with you, Is there a website where they can go to, or a social media channel where they can find you, or maybe a community generally, for listeners that want to contact you or learn more about your work?
Wonderful. So, yes, first of all, you can reach me on my website at www.mtwimagesolutions.com. Or you can find me on Instagram at Meet the World Image Solutions. I'm on TikTok at Dr. Rhonda L. You can also find me on LinkedIn and Facebook. And I've just launched a new school community where I give live feedback to authors. We also share in the community. We support each other, and I give live courses every month. And I also do an AI tool of the week where I teach you how to use AI, like I said, in an ethical way. I'm never going to tell anybody to let AI do their work for them, but I am going to show you how you can use AI to inform your process and to refine your processes. And at the same time, become a better writer at the same time. So my school community is called the Right to Win Writers Community. And you can find it, like I said, on the school. And I will be providing a link for that as well. I'd love for you to join. This is a brand new community. We are going to be doing some great things, and we're all going to be growing together as authors.
Wonderful, wonderful, Dr. Ronda. I'll also be sure to add these links to the show notes of this podcast. It's been a really, really interesting conversation with you, and I am excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right.